Good morning. I am Kevin Price. Delighted to be with you. Going to spend some time talking to you about you and your business. Let me tell you, it's really important in your business to be familiar with what's happening in the legal front and to make sure you're aware of some of the best legal counsel in our area. And so I'm spending some time talking to some of Houston's finest and really some of the most famous attorneys as well. One attorney, I mean, if you were to ask the name of a local attorney that most Houstonians are aware of, Dick GeGuerin would certainly be one of them, certainly one of the most famous. You have had the propensity to be involved in some pretty amazing cases, and we're delighted to have you on the program.
Thank you, Kevin. Nice to be here.
Dick, real quickly, kind of give us an overview of some of the, I guess you could say, both famous and infamous cases you've been involved in.
Well, I've been practicing over 50 years, and so there's a lot of cases. I've been fortunate enough to be called on to represent some fine people, Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison, Congressman Tom DeLay. I've been called on to represent some notorious people, David Koresh during the Branch Davidian standoff, representing Bob Durst now in the second go-round of the attempt to convict him of murder, and this is a different case, and there's been a lot of other cases in between.
Right. You represented Durst both in 2001 and now.
Yes, the actual verdict was in 2003,
right,
in Galveston, Texas. I happen to be in Galveston right now, but now he's charged in California with murder, and we're trying to get there to go to trial.
Let me ask you, how did you find yourself in some of the most famous cases, that are out there? Because there seems to be a certain number of attorneys like yourself that are able to get on these, really cases that will pretty much fuel, from a marketing perspective, your business, your practice for years to come. How did this come to happen, do you think, for you?
Well, I've been real lucky. I had some good mentors, the most well-known of which would be Percy Foreman. He passed away 20 years ago, so it's a lot of people have forgotten about him or just never knew about him, but he was a very famous criminal lawyer, and he set me on my own path. And the way that lawyers used to be hired was by reputation. Nowadays, the Internet has interfered with that, and people can brag about and claim to be the best lawyer in the business without anybody calling them on it. Reputation, to my mind, is still the best way to hire a lawyer. The best recommendation for a lawyer is the good reputation that they have, and I've spent 50 years trying to build mine up.
Yeah, and along the way, some amazing cases. This is pretty startling. You have really been on some of the landmarks in legal history, really, on some of these cases. And so I think it's fascinating, a fascinating story, and fascinating how you put yourself in this position. Let me ask you, you alluded to the fact that the Internet has been kind of a game changer. You also mentioned the fact that you've been practicing law for 50 years. I call that a half a century, but I don't want to depress you. But what would you say? How has things changed when it comes to practicing law during such an incredible period of time?
Well, a trial is still a trial, and you still have 12 jurors to convince or to raise reasonable doubt with, and so the mechanics of it hasn't changed. What's changed is communications and instant communication through television, the Internet, and other manners of communication. And one thing that we've seen in the past 10 years has been the advent of these crime shows on television that vaunt the scientific aspect of criminal investigation. So now jurors are wanting to have some sort of scientific evidence in many criminal cases. And the fact is that It's only a few of cases that are investigated using scientific methods. That's one change. The other change, as I said, is the internet, and there's no editor out there to keep someone from claiming falsely success stories. Now, when it was the newspapers and television, you usually had honest and careful editors that would filter what goes into their papers. That's kind of fallen by the wayside also now, and you have heavily partisan publications that espouse a different view rather than attempting to be neutral. That troubles me because a lot of people, or the public, can't discern when they're being fed a line of bull or when they're being told the truth from a neutral standpoint.
Yeah, it's interesting. It seemed like to me that on the first case, the dependence on forensics and the mind of jurors because of what they watch on TV, that seems like it would be advantage defense. Is that true?
Well, it turns out to be, yes, because if there's not some scientific evidence, the jury's wondering, well, why isn't there? And there should be, and so forth. On the other hand, there is what I call the tyranny of science, and that is the acceptance by jurors of something that has some sort of pseudo-scientific smell to it. So if evidence is couched in terms of, for instance, DNA, jurors are apt to believe that it's infallible. Well, it's not. There are a lot of places where DNA evidence can go wrong, but still, in what I call the tyranny of science, is that jurors, lay people, tend to automatically believe something that's presented as if it were scientific.
Mm-hmm. Dick GeGuerin, he is a Houston super lawyer for obvious reasons, and really one of the most famous attorneys in this town. Dick, I'm so glad you were able to spend some time with us. Your website is GeGuerin. That's DeGuerin.com. That again is DeGuerin.com. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Kevin.
When we come back, we're going to have much more for you. I do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com, and this is The Price of Business.